you've played Genshin Impact, you'll likely recognize this silhouette. It's Venti. So how did we go from clean and distinct silhouettes like his to some of these? Do you know who these characters are right off the bat? Sure, the revealed artwork is very impressive and beautiful, but it's lacking a core pillar of character design, that being strong silhouettes. To the average player, this may not be a big deal, but from a design perspective, it's really interesting, especially in a gacha game where the first second of a brand new character shows this silhouette, hinting whether you get the desired character or if you just got Chi-Chi'd. The general definition of a silhouette is a dark shape or outline of a person or an object against a lighter background. This is what gacha game silhouettes are at a glance, but it goes a bit deeper. In the world of character design, the silhouette can tell us basic information about a character, and the strongest of silhouettes make characters instantly recognizable, even with no details. The idea for designers is to emphasize its overall form or shape. Let's start with some general examples. You probably have a good idea as to who this character is just by the shapes alone. You have the two large ears and the big shoes. Let's look at a game character next. In this case, we have the spiky hair and the large buster sword to tell us that it's Cloud. Notice that the poses in these silhouettes matter a ton to help show different details. His arms are spread out, which allows us to see the bolts on his armor. Now let's look at a gacha game example. This is Kazuha from Genshin Impact without the full splash art. This is just his official art stance, and we can discern a lot from the silhouette. We can see the wind-like movement with the messy hair and the long scarves. We also get a little glimpse of his ropes on the outfit too. One of my favorite splash arts in Genshin Impact has to be Venti's. No, it's not because he's just a favorite, but rather how well done it is. You can clearly see Venti's shape within the wind. Once the splash art is revealed, we not only get the character, but Mondstadt in the background. They incorporated the city in a way that doesn't hide the focal point. Xin Yan is another great example. While being a 4-star, her silhouette is instantly recognizable. You have her in the middle with fire shooting out from behind. I know immediately from the second her silhouette pops up on screen that it's her. Now let's go back and add a splash art to Kazuha. It starts to get messy. While I am biased to enjoying Kazuha's artwork, if it weren't for the stylistic choice of how the designers drew the wind, we would struggle a lot to see that it's actually Kazuha. But this isn't the worst of the gacha splash arts. In fact, it's not that bad. I really began to notice this problem with Yae Miko, another character I really like. Her standalone silhouette is gorgeously done, but once you pair it with her full splash art, she becomes a huge blob. It's pretty when it's revealed, but when you're pulling in a gacha game, that split second before the reveal can mean everything. So when more and more characters were released with blob-like silhouettes, eventually it became hard to tell if we got our desired unit or not. When looking up specific examples for this video, I noticed that the standalone silhouettes are masterfully done. It's when we add the splash art that things start to get messy. Let's look at Nahida. Her burst is a huge dome that creates a field when playing. Her splash art silhouette is just a blob. Now look at Nuvolette and Farina. Now these splash arts are actually pretty cool because they do connect vertically, but the silhouette alone are just two more blobs. I can only tell the two apart thanks to the more round shape in Farina's versus the angular shape in Nuvolette's. Look at Navia's too. She has some really awesome cannons, but once you put the silhouette in, it's just another blob. What I'm trying to say is a silhouette relies on readability and clarity through shapes. Most people can look at a silhouette and know it's not just any cat, but Hello Kitty. Most people can look at this silhouette and know it's Link. When splash arts in gacha games become more elaborate, the higher the chances of it turning into a blob. I like Lenny, but his splash art is just a huge semicircle. Maluika's splash art is super cool with all the heroes, but it's just a huge blob that nearly takes the entire screen. We also have to consider that a lot of the characters are similar. We only have 5 different body types, and there's only so much variation that can happen. In Genshin, there's a tall and short male, tall and short female, and a child-sized female. While in the 2D splash art, artists can be far more creative, we do begin to see some repetition. Most splash arts in Genshin Impact also are of the character's burst, which is cool, but sometimes there's just too much going on. I've particularly noticed that these blobs happen more often as the game progresses. Child has a big burst with the wave, but it's distinct, while Skirk is a huge block with hard angles. The lack of utilizing negative space is hurting some of these later characters in their splash arts. The main impact I see on players is during the gacha pull experience. When you finally see that shooting star turn gold, you're waiting in anticipation to see who you get. That is, unless you're guaranteed. For a split second, we see the black silhouette of the unit before it's fully revealed to us. That split second can be everything, but with more 5-star splash arts becoming blobs, it can be anybody. I've seen players get falsely excited for pulling the banner character when in reality they pulled a standard banner character. It's not clear anymore. Now, in terms of my critiques of Genshin Impact, this is what I would consider very small fry, but I still think it's interesting to talk about. Apparently I'm not the only one, as I've seen some threads here and there discussing how players missed older splash arts compared to what we're getting today. Sure, they look impressive, but I think less can be more, which leads me to my next point to highlight. The 4 stars. 4 stars have some of the best silhouettes for splash arts in my opinion, and that's simply because they don't overdo it. Some of them are lackluster, sure, but I can clearly tell who most of these characters are by their silhouettes. They utilize negative space far more than their 5-star counterparts, and this hits the idea of less is more. Though I do hope for the starting 3 of Amber, Lisa, and Kaya that they do get a proper splash art one day and not just their 3D model doing their burst. I really only have 2 solutions, and one of them is going back to doing 2 character silhouettes like they did in the past. It's more work, but I think it paid off. Genshin stopped doing 2 different artworks for their characters when Rosaria released in version 1.4, and that added flair was missing now. It was fun to see their official art pose and their splash art pose be different, but I think it also gave the designers more wiggle room to emphasize different parts of a character's personality. For example, we have Bennett giving a thumbs up in his official art, but in his splash art, he has a far more dynamic pose. Both tell us a little bit about Bennett. Klee's official art looks energetic, adorable, and innocent, but then her splash art shows her with a giant bomb ready to cause some chaos. Albedo has one of my favorite splash arts with his alchemy circle and rocks. It's very dynamic, but it doesn't fall victim to becoming a blob, but his official art is a lot more stagnant. Imagine if Albedo's splash art was just his official art with some rocks. It wouldn't be the same. So while yes, this would be more work for the artists, I think Genshin has the means to make it happen. I think constraining themselves to draw one official art piece and try to fit it into a splash art has been far less successful compared to making 2 different pieces. The main art looks great, but it gets muddied very quickly once it's put in a splash art. I know I primarily talked about Genshin in this video, but I can assure you other gacha titles are running into similar problems with their silhouettes too. The other solution I can think of is to utilize negative space once again. In a lot of these older splash arts, there's really big things going on, but the negative space has allowed for readability and breathing room. It prevented the blob problem I've talked so much about. Sometimes less really is more, and looking back at earlier splash arts and 4 stars could help. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and consider subscribing. Also tell me your favorite gacha splash art in the comments. Even those splash arts that struggle with silhouettes are still so pretty once the art is revealed. I'm curious to know what you think. Just keep it respectful in the comments. I hope to see you in the next one.